Hello my friends, welcome to my channel, Lindy's Magpie Reads. If you're new here, I'm Lindy, I read a lot, and I use this space to talk about the books that I finished. In the past week, I've only finished 3 books, so it's a bit unusual for me, but I have been busy with so many other things, so I'm going to tell you about that first before I get to the books. There are timestamps down below, so if you want to continue right on to the books, you can use those timestamps to navigate. Right, first off, I got an early birthday present from my sweetie. So my birthday's not for another 2 weeks yet, but I really wanted a spice cabinet because I had spices shelved in 4 different places in this house, and I just wanted them all in one place, and I investigated lots of different possibilities, and this is what I chose, and Laurie said, I'll get that for you for your birthday. So I spent yesterday clearing out all of my spices, transferring them to these bottles that came with the cabinet. And there are still 5 empty bottles that I haven't decided which are the spices that I will use often enough that I want to have them right there instead of up in the cabinet. So it just makes me so happy to be in the kitchen when I just have such easy access. So that is great. But boy, did it ever come with packaging. So it arrived in a big box, and inside that box was another box, and then inside that box was another box, and then inside that box was a spice cabinet. Yeah, and I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with all these little empty glass jars, because I can't bear to throw out a jar. It's got to be reused somehow. Plastic jars I wasn't so fond of, plastic packets and all that kind of thing. Now everything is much more streamlined. Just got to get in the kitchen and cook. And I have also been doing a lot of rowing. If you're new to my channel, I've discovered rowing. I took a Learn to Row program that started in April. The rowing club is just a 20-minute walk from my house here in Victoria. It's the Gorge Narrows Rowing Club. I was out there to row 5 times last week, 3 times this week. There's various programs, including a Pride on Water program that started just last week. So it's for queers. It is going once a week and on Tuesday evenings until August 6th, I think. And oh yeah, lots of fun to get out and do that. I do have a photo of me rowing just this past Tuesday that one of the volunteers in a safety boat took. So you can see just how beautiful it is to be out there on the water. I'm in the dark purple t-shirt at the end of the boat. That's the stroke seat. Everybody faces backwards in the boat, so that's actually the back of the boat. That's called a stroke seat because everybody behind you follows your stroke as you row. There was somebody who was brand new in our boat. She had never rowed before. It's really fun to introduce people to the pleasures of rowing. As you can tell, I'm really excited about it. I love this sport. Gardening is a bit more of a chore here than it was in Edmonton. And that's mostly because there's so much grass, there's a lot of mowing, and so many invasive species. So much of the garden is taken up with invasive species to a greater or lesser extent, meaning that some of these species, it's really important to get rid of them. They go in black garbage bags to the landfill, and other ones are just preferably removed because they're likely to become a problem in the future. So I like being out there and working in the garden, but there are challenges, that's for sure. And if you're wondering about my knitting progress, I have finished 4 balls of that baby alpaca yarn. Here it is. So, working up the back. Pretty soon I'm going to be shaping the neck for this vest. And baby alpaca, by the way, doesn't come from young animals. It comes from adults, but it has to do with the fineness of the fiber. So the very softest, finest fibers are what's called baby alpaca. And it's so cozy, soft, and warm. And I also started a stitch-along project on Wednesday last week. So this is what I got so far. I'm doing this with Christy Johnson and a group of other stitchers online. Christy Johnson is the woman who taught the Softworks program that I took back in 2021, I think it was, a course on how to design and sew your own garments. And she's a great instructor, very inspirational, and I am having fun doing some flower embroidery with her. So while I was stitching, I was listening to an audiobook, and this was a really good audiobook for that purpose. I'm talking about God, Human, Animal, Machine. Technology, Metaphor, and the Search for Meaning. And it's by Meghan. So in this audiobook, the author talks about her personal journey studying Christian theology at Bible school until she came to a point of non-belief. It's a very philosophical work that asks so many questions about artificial intelligence, human consciousness, quantum mechanics, the nature of reality, and especially our use of metaphor to talk about these things. So for example, we talk about our bodies as machines and our brains or our minds as computers. We say we want to process a new idea or retrieve a memory, you know, that kind of thing. She looks at how science and religion are parts of this question or exploration. There's one part where she has a conversation with a physicist about his theory of multiverses. It left me wondering, am I disenchanted with this world, or am I enchanted? And I definitely come out on the side of enchantment. Yeah. In spite of all of the terrible things that we do to each other and to the planet, it's still a beautiful world. Yeah. And next I want to tell you about another audiobook. This one is a short one, only 3 hours long. It's called Clear by Carys Davies. She is a Welsh author, And the last time that I read something by her was a collection of short stories about 10 years ago. It was called The Redemption of Galen, Pike. Now this story is actually set, I think, in the Orkneys. It's some remote Scottish island, and the year is around 1840, and there's a Reverend John Ferguson who has been sent to tell the sole inhabitant of this island that he has to leave. This is part of the clearing of the land that landlords were doing at that time in order to make room for profitable sheep. No more people, just sheep. There are only 3 characters that we focus on. So John, the Reverend, and his wife Mary, and Ivar. And the landscape is so vividly evoked, and the moral question of what John has agreed to do for money. The reason he's doing it is because he's so poor and he needs money for his church. And Ivar has been so lonely, but his day-to-day existence quite fascinated me as I was listening to this. The audiobook reader, by the way, is Russ Bain, and oh yeah, he does a great job. There is a queer subtext going on in the novel, and the ending is something that I'm still thinking about. Yeah, as I was listening to it, I'm thinking, how is she going to end this? What's going to happen? So there's a certain pull towards the end as well. And it's beautiful. It's one of those short and sharp kind of gems. And last up, I read this big, fat, graphic memoir called Feeding Ghosts by Tessa. It's about 3 generations in Tessa's family: her grandmother, her mother, and herself. Grandmother was born in China. She was a journalist in Shanghai right at the time that Mao Zedong and the communists came to power. And her grandmother got pregnant with a Swiss diplomat who abandoned her. And so she was raising a mixed race child in Shanghai when everything foreign was bad, and she ended up having to escape to Hong Kong. And then she wrote a memoir about her experiences, and then she lost her mind and never really regained her sanity. So Tessa's mother grew up in Hong Kong with a mother who was in a mental institution, and ended up emigrating to the USA. She got there on a scholarship, and Tessa has a white father. She was born in the US, and she was always at odds with her mother. I mean, this is a very difficult mother-child relationship. And in the writing of this book, Tessa goes back to Chinese history. She documents the 20th century happenings in China, kind of in a summarizing sort of way, but still they definitely had an effect on her grandmother's mental health, and was finally able to see things from her mother's point of view. And all of this self-exploration and collaboration with her mother in putting this graphic memoir together is absolutely amazing. It's amazing. She does travel to China with her mother in 2016. That's one of the early scenes where she says that she had spent a lifetime running away from her mother, and in this moment here on this train, she is there trying to find her way home. It's black ink on white with lots of short expressive lines for shading really brings the darkness of the family ghosts, the family trauma. It keeps that ever present. This is from a page where she compares her own writing. She started writing this book when she was 30 to her grandmother writing her memoir when she was 30. And the face that comes down the center, that's her mother as a child, and then into the way she looks now. And she tells her mother, "Mom, I may never be able to hold you in the way you need me to, but within these pages, every drop of ink is my attempt at an embrace." And yes, her modus operandi was to be a cowboy. So this is another image where she draws herself as a cowboy. She's going to escape, run away from the scariness of her mother always trying to control her, and she didn't see at that time that her mother was so concerned about Tessa's mental health, and thought the same thing would happen to her daughter as happened to her mother. Oh, this book is outstanding, just outstanding, and I'm sure that it's going to be winning awards. It just came out in the spring this year in 2024, and I highly, highly recommend it. So that's all I've got for you today. Short and sweet. If you want to stick around, I am going to include a little bit of embroidery stitching at the end if you're interested. If not, that's fine. Thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate hearing from you, so please say hello in the comments down below, and happy reading, everybody. Until next time, bye.